Okay, I have no idea what you can actually see with that. But I got two cameras here, wide angle, and then I've got not as wide angle. This thing kind of leans off to the side, but what we've got here is we've got a pork shoulder, or a picnic, or a butt. And I just rinse that off now. Cold water. Handling pork, of course. So the next thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to take paper towels. I'm literally just going to try to sop up a lot of that moisture. Before I even do this, that looks good. Before I get too far along in this, I'm going to get going on my fire. What do you guys think about that? I'm going to take a look, see what the wide angle is getting. Cameras are a pain. I've got my little box here. And honestly, the box is usually pretty good, but not if you have a gigantic bag. So we're getting ready to start a fire. Went to Kingsford today. Okay, went with Kingsford. Always a must. Always use my chimney lighter here. Show you how this works. I typically cheat. Just cut that like that. Kind of the same thing I'm doing here. And honestly, I usually just rip that. So then, I usually take this in two different strips, roll this down, so that fits in the base, and then take this and roll it further around this. And insert that into my bottom here. And this is just to set us up so we're going to have enough fuel to get that going. Now I picked apple because I'm also going to use mesquite. But we're doing a pork shoulder today, so I'm going to show you some secrets how we can make sure we're not messing or checking. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this over here. We're going to get her started. And she's ready to go. You definitely need a screen on the side of this too. Okay, that is going to be getting us our, it's going to start the fire here shortly. Okay, I told you that I was going to show you some of the secrets of what we're actually doing for grill prep. Here's our grill. We're going to have our cool side over here. We're going to have our hot side over here. Got some natural hickory chunks that we're going to be using. I'm going to show you how I do this. This grate comes out, and that's where the big pain is that if you're not set up properly for your entire day, because don't be confused, this is going to be 8 hours of cooking. Okay, here's my setup. You can see I've got a spot for coals over here, and usually what I'm going to do is I would just dump in 1 chimney worth of coals. But that's a secret. You've got to have enough fuel to make it through your entire day without opening or closing the lid a lot. So we're going to build out 6 or 7 hours worth of charcoal. Doesn't need to necessarily be tall or anything crazy, but it just needs to be enough that as it goes across or as it burns across, it'll keep things going at about 225 degrees. Now we've got a pretty warm day to begin with. That's really going to help us. Let me build this out here a little bit. So my initial chimney worth of coals can go right here. And then that apple wood that is infused in these that hasn't been burned yet, I'll provide some of the smoke. We're also going to take some of these hickory chunks, and remember that these do not need to be soaked in water. They provide smoke. Regardless of whether you can see the smoke, they're smoking. So we're looking to really put some of that flavor into the pork in this case, and I think we're pretty well set. Let's go take a look at the chimney real quick. Still looks like it's got a few minutes, but it's well on its way. So the next thing we're working on is the pork, obviously. Good morning, welcome. Gonna be working on this piece of ham here, pork shoulder. Make sure we get everything in the shot. Now, I am just cleaning this up, getting a lot of the moisture off of it. This pork shoulder is 7.7 pounds. And we're gonna be cooking it on the grill today to temperature. And that means that we're gonna be cooking for about 7.5, maybe 8 hours. Screwed up. Should have been up this morning at 8 o'clock to get this on the grill because it's not dinner time. at 5 o'clock. You know, there's prep work. You gotta take this thing, you gotta pull it. But I tell you what, if we're not looking and we're cooking, we're gonna have a fantastic dinner here, 7 or 8 o'clock tonight. Okay, so I've got it all dried off. Next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get some spices out. I'm gonna go with my favorite rub, and in reality, it's whatever you like. This is sweet and smoky. This is gonna be my upside since it's got my fat cap on it, and I am gonna apply this liberally. Some people put like mustard on it. As a binder, it doesn't really, I mean, people probably think mustard, that's a weird flavor, but it's really just to give it a little moisture and let this bind. And what I find is that if you get it on there liberally like this, you let it sit. And what does that mean, let it sit? That means like, we're gonna take a couple minutes and we're gonna let the salt that's in this pull some of that moisture, create a little cap on it. Again, we're not in a huge rush, so whenever we're doing a barbecue, and barbecue is such a weird, oh, there's the other towel. Barbecue is a weird term, right? It means to cook meat over an open flame, okay? You're barbecuing, it could be any type of meat. We've done fish tacos. Last night we did some pork again, and we put it over, it wasn't directly over the heat. You can do hamburgers, you can do hot dogs, and there's, I think theoretically there's a smoke flavor that's imparted to that people conceptually like. Oh, you can see it already. We take a look at this right up here. You can see these areas, it's starting to pull all that moisture, and this is where it's still a little dry. Again, we're gonna give that a few more minutes. And then we're gonna flip that, we're gonna coat it again, and then pretty much we're done. And then this goes onto the grill. Start our timers. See, it's 11 o'clock, so that means about 6 o'clock tonight, she should be done. We're waiting for the chimney to get going over there. We've got our bed of coals. We've already got the hickory in there. We're gonna throw some on the live coals once we get going. Let's give this a few minutes. It's been a few minutes here, so we're just gonna flip this over because most of this is pretty well set. I'm not gonna lose any of it. I'm flipping this over, so let's get it turned over. Really don't have that much rub, but really don't think it matters that much because the rub is really what helps you create that bark on the outside. I really think the smoke is gonna be even more important than this because this is gonna caramelize pretty quickly and some of it's even gonna burn, which is just fine. We're not worried about that. We're gonna spread that around, try to get that evenly on the sides as well. Get it down in some of these pockets and crevices. And I can tell you after looking outside, I think that our fire is about ready to go. And we're just gonna let this sit here for a little bit, set some of that rub, and wash these dirty hands off. We're gonna go get our fire set. Okay, we're gonna go check on the status of our fire here. We're getting pretty close. So you can see we're starting to get a little gray ash on the edges of those briquettes there. That's great. That means that heat has worked its way up through that chimney, and that's how it works. It functions like a chimney. It draws air through the bottom, through convection, pulls it up through the top. All right, I think we're ready to roll. You remember we left everything taken apart over here, which is fine. I'm just gonna take this. We're gonna dump our coals right down into our little pocket we set up earlier. Now I'm not really worried about where anything is going. And it looks like that's a lot, but it's gonna slowly build up over time. And take the rest of that out. I'm throwing some hickory on here. I've already got a good apple smell going. One thing I love are these. Help me to really manage and manipulate where my fire is. I kind of want to get anything that's too hot off of that future ring, because I want that to burn later on. All right. Bury some of this hickory right in there. Okay. Next steps. Let's get some pork out here. Next step, we're just going to go in, we're going to grab that pork. Actually, I think before that, I'm just going to make sure that that cool side has got enough liquid in it. And we're just using water, nothing crazy on it. I think throughout the day might mop just a little bit with some apple cider vinegar. That's not enough. So what that does is the cool side there keeps a little bit of moisture in the air. That pork has got enough fat on the top where it's not going to dry out. That fat cap that's on the top of the pork is going to cook down throughout the entire day and keep that pretty moist. Impart a lot of that flavor to the rest of the cut. That's why I like a pork shoulder. It takes a long time to cook it just because it's a big piece of meat, but it's really flavorful. And I wouldn't say that it's you can do a lot of things with it. I pretty much just pull it, but I think you can put pulled pork on damn near everything. Salads, sandwiches, you can have it as a side, just as a central part of your dish. I think it's great when you have that combination with like an andouille sausage. Several cuts of meat are optimal. I'm a big fan of charcuterie boards, so if you make yourself a barbecue charcuterie board, you just have like a set of ribs on there, you have a little sausage on there, a little pulled pork on the side, a little chicken. It's all really, really good stuff. It's going to be the last one that I'm going to dump in here on this. Okay, now that pan is just about full. So I've got a half 55-gallon drum, well, a full 55-gallon drum that I've cut. And that's what our cooker is. A lot of people have an offset cooker where heat is on one side, it's getting drawn through to the other side. What we're doing is, ours is functioning more so just like an oven. There isn't a whole lot of air movement through this. The air's on one side, kind of draws in and out through one side. I've got my temperature gauge right here. And honestly, this stays pretty well at about 205 to 225. Doesn't get a whole lot hotter than that. So open that back up. You can see how much smoke. Man, that smells good. You can see how much smoke we get in just a second or two. And then what it does is it really regulates airflow. Right now, that thing's breathing like crazy, which means that you don't have nearly as much smoke. We're going to cook this fat cap up. All set. Haul this outside and get her on the grill. The most important thing when it comes to cooking a pork shoulder is patience and time. The old adage, if you're looking, you're not cooking, well, that's 100% true here. Nothing special, nothing magical. We're going to set that on there. Notice our fat cap is up. That's just going to drip down through the entire day. We're going to close this down. We're going to start building some heat, cooking some barbecue. Give you periodic updates throughout the day as we come back, and I'll show you what the meat looks like each time that we open up the grill, which is probably only going to be like 3 or 4 times, to see what you should be looking for as it's cooking. It's 1:06. It's been a while. We're running at about 250 right now. And again, if you're looking, you're not cooking. Check that out. Pretty good heat. You can see that that's really starting to caramelize. You got that fat cap is cooking down, okay? And there's a shoulder blade in here that once that shoulder blade is loose, we can just wiggle it and pull it out. We're gonna know that this guy is done. So we're gonna leave her on here for, what do we got? 4 or 5 more hours. We're running at 250, pretty excited about it. It's looking good. Okay, so I cheated. I didn't let you guys see pulling it off the grill, but this is what it looks like. We've got some pretty healthy bark that we've developed on this, and that is basically the caramelization of the fat cap and all of that stuff that we put on it this morning. It is 7:29. We put it on at 11:15 this morning, and how you know if it's ready or it's done is just you grab this shoulder blade and just pull that out. And if it's clean, woo, it's a little toasty. If it's clean like this, and you can see nothing left off the bone, that's literally fall off the bone barbecue. That is good. So next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna let it rest for a little bit. We're gonna put it in this pan, take 2 forks, pull it apart. That is good. And then we're gonna devour it. So normally I pull the pork. I went with a chopped pork finish, and I'm pretty sure that you would look at this and be just fine with eating it. So great turnout. We're gonna make some sandwiches with this. Probably not even gonna let it cool down too much. Just throw that thing on a bun and throw it in our mouth. So pretty excited. We've got some beans here that are finishing up there. We just had a deep fat fried a couple of buffalo wings. So good. I put them on, smoke them for probably 2 to 3 hours till they're just pull off the bone, dump them in the oil, fry them up, crisp it, throw it in barbecue sauce. So good. So a little slaw, a little pork, into a perfect day.